before. I can't take it anymore. Watching Smackdown live on Tuesdays. Bryan always fades out during TNA.
Alrighty. It's Filthy Tom Lawlor Show, Filthy 4 Daily, August 22nd, 2018, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Had to let that whole thing play to cool off a little. What's going on, Tom?
Nothing. Just hanging out.
Just slurping right into the mic, as always.
Oh, my God.
Every week,
Fucking
everybody.
let it go.
Every week. Every week. How was Vegas? I guess you live there, huh?
What do you mean? Yeah. It's the same as it always is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't on vacation like everybody else. So I don't have a ton of free time.
I was on vacation either, Tom. Did a lot of work down there.
You know what I mean.
Sure. That was fun, huh?
A lot of people up my ass.
Yeah.
Hey, look. I got kids.
Hey, listen, I got an
I
idea.
got a life.
Since I'm on the edge right now, let's start with SmackDown, get all my fury and anger out, and then once I've cheered up, we'll talk more about Vegas. How's that sound?
You're on the edge.
Yeah.
I'm ready to jump right off.
Dude, Tom, I honestly, I know you think it's a gimmick, but I can't even explain that slurping into the mic, like what it does to me. I think you think I'm joking, but it drives me absolutely crazy. I'm just being an honest man here on the air. I ask you please, like a friend, like a partner, to just please not do that.
I could go to the other.
You just love to do it.
I could go to the other side of this fucking room and drink, and I'd still get yelled at. So what's the matter?
Well, no, take your big giant slurp and then connect. That's all I'm asking. Connect and then immediately take the giant slurp.
I connected. I'm sitting there with my thumb up my ass while you're just on the other line.
I'm waiting for you.
Sitting there.
I'm here just waiting. You know. All right, let's do SmackDown. Let's talk about Becky.
Well, did you know I was there?
Yeah, I knew you were there because I have the headphones on.
Why'd you just keep sitting there waiting?
Dude, because there's a delay. I'm not waiting. When
So
we
then I'm
you
like,
first...
well, this guy's not in the fucking room, so I might as well do whatever I want.
I'm not out of the
room. I
room.
might as well drink this drink since I've been sitting on here for 10 seconds. He hasn't said anything.
Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, let's get going here.
Get over it.
Start on SmackDown.
What was happening when Paisley was drinking out of the bottle and she would slurp? You yell at her?
Well, there's a difference,
Hey,
Tom.
get out of my face.
I didn't have her I didn't have a microphone next to her bottle and headphones on. Then yeah, I probably would have killed myself.
The point is, I don't think that you're sitting there. I don't think you're sitting there with the volume turned up. I get on there. I wait. You don't say anything. So, and I can hear rumbling in the background. So I figure, what the hell? If I'm sitting here by myself and he's doing something, I might as well drink.
I'm going to leap to the microphone the next time I hear you log on. I was unaware that my brief silence there was resulted in slurping. I'll make sure that never happens again.
It's not like you get on and you start talking to me and then I start going, hey, Bryan.
Actually, you've done that several times, but that's okay. God. All right, let's get going here. SmackDown. There's far bigger things to be angry about than you slurping.
I'm going to come over to your house and cock my fist.
Do it.
So, Miz, we get SmackDown here.
I mean, you'll be a babyface if you do it, so may as well.
Man of the people. Miz comes to the ring accompanied by Maurice as we are given a recap of this past Sunday's events from SummerSlam between he and Daniel Bryan. Of course, Miz used a brass knucks given to him by Maurice from the crowd to punch Daniel Bryan in the face and defeat him. Miz is teary-eyed and seems broken up as he's in the ring with the microphone. And he and Maurice continually embrace as the Miz lets everybody know that Sunday something happened and he unfortunately must retire from ever facing Daniel Bryan again. Ah ha ha. He said 100 Daniel Bryan punches aren't equal to one of the Miz's. He's the hardest puncher in the building. He continues to go on and on. This brings out Daniel Bryan, who, as soon as he comes out, the Miz puts Maurice between the two of them. Daniel claims that the Miz is a coward. He will be exposed as a wannabe Hollywood star cosplaying as a wrestler. Maurice grabs the mic and told him to go home. He might as well change his name to Daniel Bella. And there are a few Daniel Bella chants from the crowd. Then the Brie mode music hits. Brie mode. I don't even know what it is. It's terrible. And she sprints out of the ring,
song.
Punches Miz right in the face. Daniel Bryan clotheslines Miz to the floor, and he and Maurice retreat. Daniel grabs the mic and informs us that before he came out, he spoke to Paige, and they will face off at Hell in a Cell. But it won't just be the Miz and Daniel Bryan. It'll be a mixed tag with Daniel Bryan and Brie taking on the Miz and Maurice.
So I guess to begin, do we have to have every SmackDown open with the exact same thing every single week? A heel comes out. They pretend they're going to be remorseful. They do the fake crying or whatever for a good 5 solid minutes. Then, of course, they realize it was all a ruse. I mean, does anybody fall for this? Anybody? Does the dumbest person think that Miz was actually going to retire here? And actually, the fans were chanting yes, yes, yes when he said he was going to retire. So they're either absolutely stupid or they're very willing to play along. I presume it's got to be the latter. Rest of this ended up being good. I just could have done without the usual bullshit there at the beginning. So yeah, mixed tag coming up already. That was quick. Also suggests Daniel Bryan's not leaving, which I think we all knew anyway.
Jeff Hardy, in green face paint, hissed at the camera. Thought this segment was awesome.
Yeah, he just looked at it and then went, ah!
Miz and Maurice are backstage asking, has anyone seen Paige? Has anyone seen Paige? There's no one around, first of all, so I don't know who they were talking to. And then they just so happen to run along Paige, who's standing there by herself. And Miz goes off, accuses her of being a worse GM than Daniel Bryan. Paige says, look, the match at Hell in a Cell is still on. It'll be awesome. She makes a weird face, sticks her tongue out, and tells Maurice figuratively to talk to the hand as she departs.
Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy.
So we had Randy Orton take on Jeff Hardy, and pretty early on, Orton gets the heat after they get in each other's face. When they go to commercial, Orton, during commercial, heaved him back first onto the announce table. Jeff Hardy makes a comeback, but gets cut off on the top rope. Then, in a despicable act, Randy Orton takes his index finger and weaves it through the enlarged earring orifice of Jeff Hardy, then pulls him along the ropes, pulls him in for the draping DDT, but Hardy's able to get out, double legs him, kicks him right in the balls. Old school pride stomp right to the nuts, gets DQ'd, but then he decides he's going to beat the crap out of Randy Orton for his, indiscretions over the past few weeks. Beats him up around the ringside area, beats him down with a chair, takes him into the crowd, keeps beating him up, eventually sets him up on a table, goes up to the balcony, leaps off from amongst the fans with a swanton bomb to put Randy Orton through the table and leave him laying. This is great.
It's pretty awesome, but I'm just astounded that a company where you're not allowed to say the word violence in promos, they're just having Randy Orton stick his finger in this guy's ear hole, and people are cringing in the audience. He's dragging around by his ear hole.
I was cringing at home.
It's exceptionally violent what they're doing here. And bullying, I might add. But anyway, it's interesting. Obviously, Jeff Hardy's not taking any time off, even though he's all banged up. His back's all messed up. Just beat the hell out of Randy Orton, and I guess they're going to be feuding. So I don't know what Nakamura's going to do. He just seems to be doing whatever now.
Yeah. We had... Pey and Hoist take on Naomi.
What about the Good Brothers challenging the Bar for next week?
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to text you that I refused to cover that segment.
Really? Well, they challenged him with the winners getting a tag title shot. The Bar accepted.
I was off-put by it.
Really? Were they slurping?
It was just, it sucked.
Dude, of all the things on this show, that's what set you off?
Yeah. What were the Good Brothers doing?
They were just being wacky.
We already got the New Day. How much wackiness do we need in the tag division?
Well, you see, they only have one idea for everybody. So everybody's
wacky.
Yeah. So you sighed profusely about Peyton and Naomi.
Well, it's really about Corey. Because during the Iconics entrance, Corey uttered this statement. He said, "I've followed them ever since NXT, and they've never looked better."
Yes.
Believe me. So we go to commercial, come back.
Gotta get them brownie points, baby.
I'm not going to disagree. I mean, I think they look pretty good. Naomi's running wild. They go outside. She gets distracted by Billy, which leads to Peyton landing a spinning kick to the back of her head to get the heat. Naomi makes her comeback, but ends up being distracted by Billy once again. She posts her. This leads to Peyton hitting a beautiful, may I add, Fisherwoman's suplex for the 3 count as the Iconics embrace and celebrate to the back.
You know, Corey Graves' brother, there was a scandal involving him.
Ha! That's right.
And he contacted me, and he said, "I'm very remorseful. I didn't intend for this to be the way that it happened, and I would like to come onto your show and issue a public apology for what I did." And I allowed him to do so. Just wanted to mention that. Let's talk about Becky.
So, okay. Well, hold on. Big E.
Oh, this one I skipped.
Had his ribs taped up and... Yeah.
Rib-related comedy. He was eating ribs.
Yeah, I probably should have skipped this one, too. He was eating some Chinese ribs. Xavier and Kofi go, "How are the ribs?" He says, "Well, I usually like them accompanied by collard greens and something else." "Oh, but my actual ribs, they're bad. They're real bad after last night's match." Then they gave a history lesson informing us that Brooklyn is the birthplace of Francesca, and they all hooted and hollered to get hyped for tonight's match.
Yep.
Then we had Becky. So you want to talk about Becky?
Hey, I'd love to. Hey, I'd like to mention, by the way, this is the show that everyone says is the good show between Raw and SmackDown. And the more I watch this show, the more I realize that clearly those people that say that this is the better show have convinced themselves that this is the better show, and thus they don't watch Raw with the assumption that it sucks, and they only watch SmackDown and then continue to tell us that it's the better show. Because let me tell you something. I watch Raw and SmackDown every week. SmackDown, it's not the better show. At best, it's the exact same show. It's just an hour shorter. So if you want to say...
A day later.
If you want to say, hey, it's an hour shorter, so just by the fact that it's an hour shorter, it's better, that's fine. But don't sit here and tell me that show quality-wise, booking-wise, or anything like that, it's a better show than Raw. It's not. They're exactly the same. Becky comes out. She's cheered profusely. She gets on the mic, she says, "I deserve to be the champion." Everybody cheers. "Charlotte deserved the beating I gave her." Everybody cheers. SummerSlam was not supposed to be about Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey. It was supposed to be about me. Everybody cheers. She says, "I fought for months. I earned my way into a singles match with Carmella." All true, by the way. I'd even gotten over the fact that Charlotte had gotten added to the match because now I could silence the critics who said I was only Charlotte's friend. Everybody boos at the critics saying she's only Charlotte's friend. I envision winning the title and holding the belt. Everybody cheers. They chant, "Yes, yes, yes." She says there was no hashtag, "Give Becky a chance." Nobody boycotted SummerSlam. She doesn't know that. She says you people cheered when Charlotte won. So you weren't really that upset, were you? Fans utterly rejecting this promo. She goes on and on. Great delivery, but just the fucking dumbest material. She's claiming you fans were never behind me. Utter bullshit. The fans were behind her from day one. She's trying so hard to get them to boo her. They're chanting, "Becky, Becky, Becky." So finally, Charlotte's music hits. She comes out total Roman Reigns treatment. They're booing her out of the building. She attacks Becky. She gets on top. Everybody boos. Becky does a sweep. Everybody cheers. Someone holds up a sign, clearly intended for Charlotte. I guess it would be intended for both of them. Get a real friend, it says. All the women come down to break it up, including Asuka. Fans boo like crazy. They chant, let them fight. Every time Charlotte breaks free, they boo. Every time Becky breaks free, they cheer. They chant her name. And why the fuck wouldn't they? The whole fucking storyline has been about how Becky is she's been fucked from beginning to end in this storyline. She truly fought her way, won matches, the crowd was behind her. She earned her match, and then lo and behold, her best friend, who's been out for 2 months, waltzes her fucking way in, gets added to the match, and then like a coward, attacks Becky from behind and pins her to win the belt. And these assholes thought, you know what? These fans are gonna boo Becky. They will cheer the queen. Well, they were fucking wrong because the fans aren't stupid. The fans understood the storyline that they wrote, but that had a stupid ending to. And now here they are, turning Charlotte into Roman Reigns. By the way, it's been 4 years, the fans still won't cheer the guy. So, like, if they continued this feud with Charlotte, I mean, Charlotte's going to never get cheered again. Becky's going to be Daniel Bryan, and they're just going to be idiots. That's what we've got here. Not to mention the fact that they finally got one woman who was so over and such a huge babyface to these people that all they could think was, well, we better turn her heel so we can get some heat. It's the dumbest fucking storyline in I don't even know how long. They're totally out to lunch and clueless. They're goddamn idiots who can't write a story to save their lives. And the only thing that I can hope is, like Daniel Bryan and the Wyatts, they figured this fucking thing out and they just turn her babyface next week. Because this sure as shit ain't gonna work. Would you like to add anything?
Nah, I think you covered it.
I'd like to add one other thing, by the way. Last night, I was just so appalled by this. And of course, I had some of the people on Twitter who were like, well, Bryan, you know what was really appalling was just Asuka was out there as just one of the geeks. Dude, it was the entire women's locker room. It wasn't just the geeks, it was every woman they have on the roster. So, if you'd like to be appalled that they have a women's division with like 6 girls or 7 girls, you're free to be appalled about that, but Asuka was not positioned as a geek here. She was positioned as a girl on the women's division because that's all they had out there. It's just stupid. Let's move on.
Speaking of the women's division, we had Andrade Cien Almas, who's not a woman. However, he was teaming with one in Zelina Vega, taking on Rusev and another woman, Lana. Mixed tag match rules, so that's men versus men, women versus women. It's a rematch from Sunday's SummerSlam. Earlier on, you were talking about Raw being the better show or SmackDown being at least as good or worse. If you look at the matches from this show, what did we have here? We had Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, which was nothing. Peyton Hoyst versus Naomi, which was there. This match, and then the main event. So
you had one good match.
Yeah. They wasted no time as Almas landed some slaps and an arm bar over the top rope. He went for a springboard move, but Rusev landed a roundhouse kick as he landed on the mat. Before Rusev and Lana cleared the ring, as we go to commercial break, we come back. Zelina is in control. Does an interesting 619 into a hanging crucifix neck hold on the middle rope. Lana breaks free from another submission attempt and makes the hot tag to Rusev, who lands a few kicks before being leveled with a spinning elbow by Almas, followed by the double knee smash into the corner for 2. Then there's a distraction by the girls, and Almas wants to use a chair on Rusev, but lo and behold, who appears from ringside but Aiden English to grab the chair in an attempt to foil Almas. And for the first time, it actually worked, because this allowed Rusev to land a kick, get the pin, as Aiden then retreated up the ramp after the match, telling Rusev and Lana, I'll always have your back. I'll always be there for you. And that was it.
You know, I'll give it time. I don't know why. I don't know why I'll bother, but I'll give him an opportunity here. But, dude, a month and a half straight of Aiden English just constantly fucking up and the whole storyline they built, and then here we are post SummerSlam, and he just is a success all of a sudden. It's like, seriously. They did that whole storyline just to waste time through SummerSlam. Maybe they'll have a follow-up. We'll see.
We had a bizarre Shinsuke Nakamura promo.
Oh, I got one other thing, Tom.
I couldn't. Okay.
Your boy Tom Phillips. Aiden English successfully helps Rusev and Lana win. And Tom Phillips actually says, I can't believe Aiden helped Rusev. I'm like, he's been fucking trying for a month now. Where the fuck have you been? You're the commentator on this show. He helps him win, and your reaction is, I can't believe he helped them win. Get another job.
He's got his head buried in his DMs.
Dude, he must.
Waiting for a response.
Fuck.
This Nakamura promo, I mean, if you understood what he said besides the Pledge Allegiance to the United States of Knock America statement at the end, please go for it, because I was...
You know what's funny is I usually am fine
clueless
with his promos, but I didn't understand a word he said until United States of Knock America.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool catchphrase, I guess, but I mean, I was just baffled. I couldn't believe this was on TV.
Well, it was.
Hey, Bryan, you know what we had next?
What's up?
The Domino's Raw Rewind, which recapped Edge versus John Cena from years ago in Bridgeport, Connecticut, with the always crowd-pleasing spot of someone being tossed into water as Edge was thrown into the Long Island Sound. But what's more important is the Domino's portion of the Raw Rewind.
Yes.
Well, we've talked about it.
The Domino's
do it.
portion of the Raw Rewind?
Yeah, we talked about doing the food review.
Oh, that's right.
The sponsors, whoever sponsors these shows, review their food.
Hey, I'm not averse to that idea.
The first one, it's Domino's.
Well,
so what do you want to do? A small pie each, a medium,
I'll eat a small.
any topping.
Remind me this weekend. I'll go to a small at Domino's. We'll do a review.
Okay.
It's going to be tough because there's some good pizza places around here, so they better deliver.
Well,
I'm
you know
passing
what?
up an opportunity to eat at Mod Pizza for this.
You know, Domino's stock has like skyrocketed over the past few years.
Wow.
Like they are far and away doing the best out of any of the pizza chains currently.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So we had Renee interview AJ on, I guess they were up by the ramp, kind of.
Dude, it was like watching Superstars in 1988. They just took them over. They're not on the stage, but they're like kind of back behind the last row of people. Like, what?
And Renee is asking AJ about his actions this past Sunday.
And a very, very serious storyline with implications for AJ's family and his future. And the fans chant, "Who's your daddy?"
They love it. Well, for most of these gentlemen in the crowd, it's probably the first time that they've ever actually been able to ask that question with a woman in the room. So very excited they are. We get a "Who's your daddy?" chant from the crowd, as you mentioned. He says SummerSlam did not end how he wanted it to, but Samoa Joe crossed a line that a real man doesn't cross. He promised that the next time Samoa Joe mentions his family's name, he will rip his heart out.
Yeah, that seems serious. And not only that, Tom,
Is that more or less serious than stabbing someone in the face?
A stabbing in the face is pretty serious too, but
Ripping his heart out?
the big difference is this.
One is guaranteed death.
The big difference is this. He said, "I broke a promise, but let me make a promise to the WWE Universe and my family, one that I will not break. If you mention my family's name again, I will rip your heart out." So basically, he must rip Samoa Joe's heart out. He has to. He promised. To the universe, to his family, to everybody. He promised. He was going to rip this man's heart out.
Yeah, this is going to be like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Remember that scene?
Actually going to be, in fact.
Yeah. Okay, so Joe comes out, chokes him out with the coquina clutch. As he's doing this, some girl in the crowd's yelling, "I love you, Joe! I love you!" as he's choking out the babyface AJ Styles. Afterwards, Joe grabs the mic, calls out to Wendy. He said, "Daddy's not coming home tonight to tuck you in because he already went night-night." He drops the mic and leaves. This was awesome.
I liked it.
It ruled.
Samoa Joe's the best promo in WWE. This is like, hey, you want to know what? Here's one thing.
I mean, I'd give him a second to the New Day, but...
Oh, get out of here. Here's one thing that SmackDown does do better than Raw, and that is they have Samoa Joe and Samoa Joe's promos. There's nothing on Raw as good as Samoa Joe promos. Nothing. He's phenomenal. Choked this guy out. Said, "Daddy, it's gone night-night. He's not going to tuck the kids in tonight." I was like, you're telling me that AJ was going to fly home after SmackDown, make it to Georgia, and tuck his kids in? Very skeptical.
You know what's interesting is actually, Raw has the, I guess, what would you say, like, the reputation of being the more sports entertainment-oriented show. But SmackDown has far and away the better promo people.
SmackDown?
It's not even close, yeah.
I'd have to go back through my notes.
Think about it. The Miz. Okay, what heel promos do they have that are better than the Miz? I mean, Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
But he's on SmackDown.
Yeah. Miz is I don't want to get on Miz.
Paul Heyman.
Heyman's way better. Heyman's phenomenal.
Okay, but
I mean, Miz is a good talker, but he's not like a great heel. Like, he's a guy saying words really well. I mean, that's it.
Okay.
So
who does Raw have that's good on promos?
I'd have to go through my notes.
There's no one.
Where's the Raw roster?
Usos, SmackDown. They're probably the best tag team promo, or at least most enjoyable to me.
Let's see what we have on the Raw roster. You keep going. I'm gonna find out who's a good promo here.
So then we had Paige handing out orders backstage to people as Carmella enters, and Paige says, "Oh, you look different. Oh, you lost some weight. You lost about 10 pounds of gold from around your waist." And Carmella wants her one-on-one rematch with Charlotte for the title, but in comes R-Truth. He says, "Carmella, you've been ducking me for weeks. I want my title match, and I'm going to pin you to get it." Paige asks him to leave. Truth says, "You got lucky this time." Paige does indeed make the one-on-one rematch for the title against Charlotte for next week for Carmella. And then Carmella exits off the stage, and we hear Truth abduct her in the background.
All right, so the best promo people on Raw are Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Alexa Bliss. So, yes, SmackDown does have better talkers. I will give them that.
Then we have the Bludgeon Brothers versus the New Day here in the main event.
Before you go there, I just have to mention in that segment you were just talking about, Paige has to tell Drake Younger, referee, to please make sure AJ gets full medical attention. What? How about you tell the actual medical personnel that you should have on staff? The hell's Drake Younger? A CZW guy, you're going to tell him to make sure that AJ gets full medical attention? That was the funniest thing on the show. And man, Truth has one funny line last week, which actually was a great line last week, and now they're going to run that joke into the ground. I hope you all enjoyed it. You're going to be sick of it in about 3 weeks.
How is that different than anything else?
It's not different. I'm just pointing out the way they do things. I'm very down on this company right now, after a good SummerSlam.
We had the Bludgeon Brothers take on the New Day here in the main event. No rules. Win by pinfall or submission. This, of course, for the SmackDown tag team titles. So, Xavier and Kofi representing the New Day as Big E, injured from last night's beating at the hands of the Bludgeon Brothers. They get on the Bludgeon Brothers real quick. Xavier lands a shotgun dropkick, sends Harper over the table. They beat him up, only to have it backfire as Kofi is rushing at Eric Rowan, and Harper heaves an entire announce chair at him, wiping him out. These 4 guys are exchanging big strikes on the outside. New Day drag a ladder out from under the ring and put it inside. Rowan intercepts him and holds them both up for Harper to hit a tope suicida to take them down. Kofi with a swinging DDT onto a chair before Rowan pulls him out of the ring, runs over both he and Xavier on the outside. As a matter of fact, using his right arm to do so, which is the one with a torn bicep from Sunday's match. They, in the ring, assemble a ladder bridge between 2 chairs. They go to slam Xavier onto it, but Kofi makes the save, only to be caught and planted onto it with the crucifix bomb. However, he kicks out. They only get 2. Rowan gives into the cheers of the crowd. He acquiesces and brings a table into the ring as the crowd is chanting for one the whole match. We want tables. Harper gets one of the mallets and slaps Rowan repeatedly. Harper beats up the New Day with the mallet. Slaps Rowan repeatedly in the face until Rowan uses this energy to charge Xavier, who at the last second was pulled out of the way by Kofi, which sends Rowan crashing through the dasher boards. Harper lands a super kick on the outside. He takes Xavier inside. He goes for the power bomb, trying to go through the table that was set up by Rowan. Kofi comes in out of nowhere, makes a save, sets up Harper on the table. Xavier lands the rope walk elbow, sending Harper crashing through the table, and he makes the cover 1, 2, 3 as the New Day defeat the Bludgeon Brothers. Good match. Sucks the Bludgeon Brothers lost, but it had to happen, I guess, with Rowan's injury. So.
Yeah, Rowan needs surgery. I thought this match was great. I loved this match. I thought it was so much better than the pay-per-view. The crowd was so
Really?
much... Oh, are you kidding me? The pay-per-view match?
No, I'm not kidding you. The pay-per-view match was good.
The pay-per-view match was fine, but this had way more heat. I just thought this match was much, much better. And it saved the show for me, honestly, because between... And I'm not even blaming The Miz. It's not his fault, but between the show opening with the same heel pretending to be remorseful that they do so often, and the Becky thing, I was like, you know what? Not to mention, they announced that next week Carmella's wrestling. And I vowed that if she ever wrestles another match on SmackDown, I was going to quit. I was seriously thinking, I just got to hand this show to Tom.
I think you said main event.
I may have said that. But, I mean, it's Charlotte and Carmella. I'm sure it's going to be the main event. Right? For the title, for the women's title.
Can you be so sure?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be the main event. So I was honestly considering last night just handing the show over to you, like you used to do with Impact, let you watch and review it. I'd make some comments here and there, but it's just not my show anymore. I was going to take a break from it, but the main event was good enough that I'm going to keep watching this show for a while.
The SummerSlam match was better. Give it a finish, and it was a better match than this one.
Well, it didn't have a finish.
Yeah, well, I still think it was better.
That's like saying, if Carmella could work, she'd be great. So, like, watch her matches.
She would be.
Well, she's not, so I don't want to watch her main event matches. We'll see what happens next week.
I like Carmella.
We'll play it by ear. I don't have a problem with Carmella. I just don't want to work in main event matches on SmackDown. It's a waste of my time and my life.
I prefer it.
Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, should we do the chopping block or should we do the... I guess we should do the chopping block and then we'll do Miz and...
Yeah, let's do the chopping block.
Well, stand by, everybody. Let's get this music ready. And Jinder standing there on the middle rope, and he takes his right hand, and he starts chopping, 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 chopping. We will chop. Chop. Get up, and he's chopping. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, is he gonna give him a karate chop? Fucking AJ gets to his feet, and Jinder jumps high in the air, and he karate chops AJ on the top of the head. Chopping. All right. Bryan Resnick here has got a list of the remaining SmackDown competitors who have not yet been chopped. There are 19 survivors. There are 19 Wednesdays left, including today. Now, given the fact that you do MLW about once a month. That would mean September, October, November, December. I mean, we're welcome to chop more than one at least 4 times. But these are the remaining unchopped individuals here on this show.
There's a wedding I have to go to in between there too, but I mean, we could do a show.
All right, here are the survivors. Are you ready?
On location. Yeah.
AJ Styles, Alexander Wolf, Cesaro, Charlotte, Eric Young, Jeff Hardy, Jay and Jimmy Uso, Carl Anderson, Kane, Killian Dane, Luke Gallows, The Miz, Peyton, Randy Orton, Rowan, Rusev, Samoa Joe, and Sheamus. Now, since we do have a wedding and 4 MLW, so basically 5 extra people can be chopped at some point, I do think that today we probably should at least cut Rowan, because I don't think that he's going to be back by the end of the year if he has to have bicep surgery.
In my notes, I did say, sorry, Rowan, you need to be chopped. Not for anything that he did. I've actually enjoyed his work recently.
Yes, but unfortunately, he's out.
Yeah.
Essentially, if it makes Rowan feel any better, Rowan, you escaped the chopping block from Filthy and I because you chopped yourself. He's out of here. So who do you think now?
Oh, you want to do another one?
I mean, we can. We don't have to.
Go for it. Who would you like to put up? I'll.
Well, I want your opinion. I chopped Rowan.
I would get rid of any 4 of Cesaro, Sheamus, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows.
Now, why would you get rid of Sheamus and Cesaro?
The entire promo.
I know, but the offending parties in that promo were, in fact, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Well, there you go. Which one was more offensive?
Of the 2 of those guys?
Yeah.
I can't say one was more offensive than the other. I mean, we could give them another chance. They're going to probably have a blow-away match next week.
I say we give one of them a chance.
All right, well, who do you want to cut? Gallows or Anderson?
I don't care.
Well,
just in a chopping mood.
All right, we'll take your pick.
Well, Anderson took his shirt off, which I guess is more offensive. But I think he just had another baby, right?
He did just have another baby.
So as a father, I don't know. Does Luke Gallows have any kids?
No, but Luke Gallows is dating Nia Jax now, if that adds to your argument in any way.
It doesn't. Whatsoever.
All right, let's spare him. If we're not passionate about chopping people, then we will be passionate on another day, so we may as well just save it.
I'm passionate about chopping everybody. That's the problem.
All right, let's just keep it at Rowan for now.
All right.
Let's not kill the gimmick here. We're now still perfectly in line with the number of weeks left.
You were the one that suggested it.
I was just thinking about it. Because when I mentioned Carl Anderson's name as I ran down the list, you audibly gasped. Because of that promo that they cut.
Yeah.
But I mean, it won't be the only one.
Now, we do need to address something here in this email, too. Bryan Resnick, who's been keeping this updated, and there have been people on the board as well. I believe there are some discrepancies. Refused to chop me, refused to put me on the chopping block, and instead put the UFC, which I do not agree with. I was the one that was chopped last week, so it's official. I got chopped. However, the UFC can be this week's Geek of the Week.
Well, I was thinking...
Just bestow upon them another...
I was thinking that you could have just been the Geek of the Week and not on the chopping block, because you were never on the block to begin with, you know what I mean? So maybe you should have just given yourself an honorary Geek of the... I mean, you were Geek of the Year last year, right?
Well, I was Geek of... No, it was 2 years ago.
No, 2 years ago.
It was Geek of the Week, but it was the last show of the year.
Yeah.
So by default, I was the only geek that year, which made me the Geek of the Year.
I see. I got it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get going on Miz and Mrs. Hey, listen, everybody thinks I'm an unfair man, that I hate The Miz. The show was 1,000 times better than last week's show. I enjoyed this week's show, mostly because of Miz's father, who is a megastar. Now, I'll go ahead. I'll give my point later. I got a big point about this show, why I enjoyed it.
I'm sure you got a big point during the show. So, or a little one. Miz and Mrs. Opens at Chateau Marmiz in L.A. It is the setting with Maurice showing her French mother, Marjo, the pictures from the implied nude photo shoot that we saw last week. Marjo makes no bones about it. She wants to see the Mrs. bone. But instead, she just sees their nude photos instead and calls him out for having a flat ass. So the Miz then is outside helping Maurice into their Jeep Wrangler. And she's like, he asks, what do you want me to do? She's like, help me get in the Jeep. How do you want me to help? What do you want me to do? Stick my hand up your ass? And she says, that's how I got pregnant. Which...
Yes.
Does someone need to explain? Does someone need to have the talk about the birds and the bees with her?
Apparently.
She got pregnant from the Miz sticking his hand up her ass.
Well, maybe I don't.
How come I haven't gotten pregnant yet then?
I don't want to think about it too much, Tom. But it's funny. I was watching that, and then I was watching whatever came immediately after that, and I thought, am I watching the wrong show? I just watched this last week, and then I realized that in fact I hadn't. Remember before we started watching the show, I said I'd watched like 5 minutes of it, and it wasn't terrible. Apparently, I'd been watching episode number 2 for that 5 minutes, so I had seen this before. I couldn't figure out why she was talking about his hand up her ass 2 shows in a row. Then I figured it out.
Hollywood types are into some weird stuff.
They sure are.
So they go to a cake store in order to get a cake for the upcoming baby shower, and Maurice, of course, wants a very expensive $1,000 4-tier cake. This cake comes along with a $100 delivery fee. So the Miz complains, and instead they settle on the $750 3-tier cake, and he haggles down the price for only $90 for the delivery fee. Apparently, the Miz haggles on pretty much everything according to the show, which I'm not sure if I believe or not, but the Miz arrives at a live event later on, invites one of his best friends, Dolph Ziggler, to come to the upcoming baby shower. They talk about the Miz's dad coming into town and his dad also being a cheapskate as well. The Miz goes and picks his dad up at the airport, George.
Now, before we get to that, they have that little segment with Dolph backstage, who also is on my list usually, but the 30 seconds that Dolph Ziggler was on this show, he was more likable than at any point in his decade-long WWE career. What does that tell you?
Well, he's been a heel most of the time.
Even when he's a babyface, he was way more likable here than when they tried to make him a babyface.
Yeah, he was just being himself.
Yeah.
Probably.
Too bad not everybody can do that all the time.
So they pick up George, the Miz's dad, who has, you've probably seen him on TV before at WWE live events if you've been watching for a long time. I believe he's Mr. Hero, owns a chain or a restaurant, what would you say, location. He recommends, instead of getting this 4-tier cake, why not just put 2 cakes on top of each other from the grocery store? He said for $90, that $90 delivery fee, I could get you 3 Transformer cakes. And then he also convinces the Miz that in order to get past this $90 delivery fee, they should go pick up the cake from the store themselves. So they decide to. And we see the Miz carrying this cake out. They indeed get the cake in the back of the Jeep as Maurice continually calls Mike while he is driving. Of course, at some point, the Miz must slam on the brakes, allowing the cake to fly into the center console, effectively smashing it and rendering it useless. They try to fix it, and it just falls to pieces. Even at one point, George getting a cigarette butt on the cake. So they return to the cake store, and Miz ends up instead panicking and spending $2,000 on the spot, for the $1,000 cake Maurice had previously and originally wanted, and offers $200 for the delivery fee in order to avoid Maurice's rage. Maurice, of course, is looking for the Miz. He's hours late. She's having her hair done. She's furious that Mike is missing. And just then he arrives with his dad. His dad, apparently, we find out, has been eating from the cat food dispenser. He thought they were nuts.
Maybe they were.
So the upgraded cake arrives.
I thought he was nuts.
Mike is able to weasel his ability to disappear for hours into a positive by presenting the more expensive cake Maurice had wanted to begin with. So then we have the wedding or baby shower, I'm sorry. Such notables as the aforementioned Dolph Ziggler, Rosa Mendez, Johnny Impact, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, John Hennigan,
Johnny Marmiz,
Boone, the bounty hunter. He's there, along with Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
And Mr. Belding.
Yes.
They're all there, hanging out at the baby shower.
What a party.
So, Marjo, for some reason, is out snooping around in the Mrs. Jeep. I wonder why. Finds this cake bits from the original cake that got smashed in the car, and of course alerts Maurice that her original cake had been smashed in the back
It's so
seat.
preposterous. It's just ridiculous. Like, she goes out to the vehicle and she's like, oh my God, there's something in it. Oh, it's cake. Oh, he must have gotten the other cake. Oh, they must have crashed. Oh, they must have got a new cake. Like, she figured all that out by finding a piece of cake in the back of his car. Get out of here.
When they showed up with the original cake, she was like, something doesn't seem right. Something's up.
Yeah, come on. Phony show.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. That's the point.
So they have team competitions during the show of during the shower. They have a diaper changing competition, which is the Mrs. team wins. They have a bottle chugging competition, which Maurice's team wins. And then it was like, what was it? Guessing beans in a jar, something like that. And Team Maurice guesses more correctly and wins 2-1 in a big surprise. And Marjo gets the floor, says, look, got a surprise I worked hard for. Gathers everybody around, and she unveils a giant photo from the implied nude photo shoot of Miz and Maurice back-to-back, butt naked. She calls out the Miz for having no ass in front of everybody.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah, so...
Can you imagine?
Then Maurice outside calls the Miz out for the whole cake fiasco. They hug and they kiss. They embrace before the Miz informs us that indeed 0 pieces of the 4-tier $1,000 wedding cake were eaten.
I didn't believe that for 1 second. You kidding me? I mean, clearly I wasn't invited. I'd eaten that whole fucking cake and brought the rest home.
I don't think anyone thought you were invited.
That's true.
You didn't need to state that.
That's true. Hey, listen. As a man who's not the biggest fan of the Miz's wrestling in the ring, I loved this episode. I loved it. You know what I got to say about it? This was like, somebody last week said, Bryan, it's not supposed to be a reality show. It's not supposed to be real. It's supposed to be Mrs. WWE character on a reality show. I don't know what the hell the difference is, but whatever. They're trying to defend last week's show by saying that. So anyway, fine. It's The Miz and Maurice of WWE doing a reality show. Not Mike Mizanin and Maurice Ouellette. It's their characters. Okay, fine.
Is she related to PCO?
Could be. Never thought of that. Anyway, if you consider this a WWE show, it was so completely different from every other WWE show because it's about people who like each other and they try to do the right thing all the time. And when they make mistakes, they try to solve the problem in a friendly, giving way. There's nothing like this on the main roster. Everybody fucking hates each other. Everybody has to turn on their friends. I mean, it's like it's like in Vince McMahon's worldview. I've heard that phrase a lot over the last couple of days. Vince McMahon's worldview. In his worldview, like everyone's a shithead. They're all out to get each other. They're all assholes. And if you're a good guy, deep down, you're actually a bad guy. On this show, Miz's dad wants Miz to pick him up at the airport on the day that Miz and Maurice are having their baby shower. He should just get a cab. But you know what? Miz is like, it's my dad. I'm going to go get him. And he goes to pick up his dad, like a nice guy. His dad says, you know what? $90, that's a lot of money to pay for the delivery. I'll help you. I'll be a nice guy. Let's go do it together and save the $90. They go, they try to do a good deed, and unfortunately, there's an incident in the car and the cake topples over. So what does Miz do? Well, Miz doesn't want his wife to be angry at him, but even more so than that, he wants her to be happy. And so he goes back to the cake store, he pays double the money to not only just get a new cake, but he's so remorseful about what he did that he gets an even better cake to deliver to his wife. They go back to the house, his mother-in-law finds out that in fact, Miz, something must have gone wrong. That's why Miz got a brand new cake. She tells on the Miz to Miz's wife. Well, Miz's wife, what does Maurice do? Well, she forgives the Miz. She says, you know what? He's a good guy. He made a mistake, but at the end of the day, I got the cake that I wanted, and I love him for that. And all their friends are there. Everybody's happy. The show ends with them in love. It was a nice, friendly, happy, 20-minute enjoyable show. It was so much better than Raw and Smackdown, and it was 10 billion times better than this bullshit with Becky Lynch and her friend Charlotte. I loved it, so I recommend this episode of Miz and Mrs. And if that ain't country, I'll kiss your ass. Let's talk about some upcoming dates, Tom. What do you got coming up?
MLW War Games on what day is it? September 6th or 8th. God, I forget. It's one of those two.
September 6th.
War Memorial Auditorium, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Be there. I don't think I have a match announced yet. Keep checking.
Dude, you just won the Battle Riot. How can you not have a match at the War Games?
God, hey, maybe I'll cash in. You never know. Who knows? Then I will be wrestling for AIW in Cleveland in the middle of September 14th, I believe. Also appearing for Beyond Wrestling September 16th. And I will be entering for the second time, and I am the returning previous winner, I will be entering the Black Label Pro Darkest Timeline Championship Tournament on September 22nd.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anything else we didn't talk about with Vegas? I think we talked about it all on Sunday, didn't we? The beating of Wang.
Yeah.
How was your match with CW?
It was good. It's fun. You can check it out on powerbomb.tv.
Is it up now?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Filthy Tom versus an ECW original.
Match. We're in the ring, and he's like, you're in there with a legend. I looked at the ref, and I was like, that guy? Where?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Hey, that's part of my gimmick. I talk to my opponents. I tell them what I'm going to do before I do it. I be nice.
Shut up. Get out of here. Disgusted now. Again. Why don't you slurp one more time before we go off the air while we're at it? All right, listen. We're here every week, everybody.
I can't wait till Lance slurps in your fucking face.
He would never do that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he'd be even more annoyed than I would be.
Yeah, what's more important? That or me dying from being parched over here? I could choke to death. It's so dry here in Las Vegas. I could choke to death on my own phlegm.
Well, clearly you haven't been reading the news, Tom. Seattle right now, the worst air quality anywhere in the entire United States. And I believe Eastern Washington worse than anywhere in the entire world right now.
I'm surprised it's taken this long. How long you been doing this show?
I'm dying over here.
Blowing hot air out of your mouth for years.
I've had the equivalent of 7 cigarettes a day just living here in Seattle right now. It's horrible.
It's all those potheads. That's what it is.
Well, and massive fires. Literally, my buddy Rob that you met, he just put on Facebook a picture that he took from the airplane when he flew over the fires. You fucking look down. It looks like an atomic bomb went off. Or like an asteroid hit the Earth. There's this giant plume of smoke, miles wide, miles up in the air. It's horrifying. It sucks. But hey, other than that, everybody, we're out of time. Back later on tonight with Dave. A lot of stuff to talk about, so be ready for that. And that's it from here. Check out @FilthyTomLawlor on Twitter, @Bryan Alvarez. Lots of great stuff coming up, so check it out. We'll talk to you again next time. We'll talk to you again after a while.